Do you tell yourself all the time that you should start saving more and spending less? Yet month after month, when you look at your bank account, you find that you spent way more than you should have and saved way less than you should have? If that sounds like you, then stick around, because in this video, I am going to show you how creating a budget can help you solve this common problem. And I'm going to show you how to start a budget when you are an absolute beginner. If you're excited to learn more about budgeting, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up and we will get started. If you're new to my channel, I'm Kassy with makingtimeforgiggles.com, and I make videos all about making mom life simple. If that sounds like something you would like to see more of, hit subscribe down below and ring the bell next to it so you'll be notified when the next one comes out. Now, before we get into how to set up your budget, I want to go over some of the reasons why budgeting will help you solve the problem of spending too much money and not saving enough. We all know that we should start a budget, but it's the last thing most of us really want to spend time looking at or thinking about. But what most people don't realize is budgeting can actually be pretty fun once you get the hang of it. I mean, wouldn't it be fun if when you want to go on vacation with your family, you have the money saved up and it isn't a stress to your finances? Wouldn't it be fun if at Christmas time you were able to get your kids whatever they wanted instead of thinking, oh, we can't afford that because we didn't budget for it? And wouldn't it be fun if you didn't have any debt to make payments on? Well, budgeting can help you accomplish all of those things. So before we get started building that budget, I just want to show you a couple of the reasons why budgeting can be so helpful when you want to get your finances under control. The first reason that it's good for everyone to have a budget is it will get your spending under control. Budgeting will keep you from getting confused as to what is serious money and what is fun money. Creating a budget will help you see exactly what you are spending money on and see what adjustments need to be made to meet your financial goals. Another reason you want to start a budget is it will help you reach your goals faster. If you have a goal of purchasing a new car or going on a trip with your family or paying off debt, having a budget will make sure that you are putting money towards your goals and make sure that that money isn't getting spent on things that are less important. When you have a budget, you will know exactly how much money you need to set aside each month for when you want to reach your goal. The third reason you want to make sure that you have a budget is it will help you save more money. Building up that emergency savings account or your retirement savings account isn't exactly the most fun place to put your money. And if you're budgeting based on your feelings, going out to eat will win every time over putting money in a savings account for the long run. But if you have a budget and you have a plan in place, it will help you make those important decisions as opposed to winging it with your money. The fourth reason you want to start a budget is it can help you stop living paycheck to paycheck. Living paycheck to paycheck can be really frustrating and stressful, and no one really enjoys living without a financial cushion of some sort. But when you have a budget, it will give you the courage to say no to things that aren't in your budget and help you start building that cushion so that you don't feel so stressed about your finances. The fifth reason you should start a budget is that you can be flexible from time to time. Maybe at some point, all of your kids will need a brand new wardrobe all at the same time. And that's okay because you know exactly where every dollar is going. So you know maybe this month we'll have to cancel some of our subscriptions, or maybe this month we'll have to go out to eat less to afford the new clothes. But that's no problem because next month we can go back to our regular budget. And having that budget just gives you the freedom that when you need to make adjustments, you can. You know exactly where you can pull money from and what you need to put it toward. The sixth reason everyone should create a budget is that it puts you back in the financial driver's seat. Sometimes it can feel like your finances are in control of you, especially if you are in a lot of debt. By creating a budget, you can get back in the driver's seat and start telling your money where to go instead of the other way around. The seventh reason everyone should have a budget is it keeps you accountable. Having a budget is kind of like having a financially savvy friend that will go with you to Target and talk you out of putting that extra thing in your cart that you know you really don't need. It may not always be the most fun thing to hear, but it's better than spending more than your budget allows for. The eighth reason it is so great to start a budget is that having a budget will simplify your finances. Right at first, budgeting may seem complicated and like there are a lot of things to keep track of, but once you get the hang of it, which won't take too long, it will make finances so much easier in your family. You won't always be wondering if you can afford to do something or not. You will know exactly what you can afford and when. The last reason that having a budget is so important is that money will no longer get lost. Have you ever put money into a bank account and had it disappear less than a month later? You aren't even sure where you spent that birthday money that your parents sent you, but it had to be on something, right? I mean, money doesn't just get up out of our bank account and walk away. But when you don't have a budget and you just spend based on what you are feeling like at that moment, it's really easy for money to just get lost in the mix. Whereas if you have a budget and you stick with it, it will keep you from spending your birthday money at the drive-thru and allow you to spend it on something fantastic. All right, now that we know why we need to have a budget, we are going to go through exactly how to start a budget when you are an absolute beginner. I'm going to go through this step by step, and if you want to follow along with me, pause the video, grab a notebook and a pen, maybe grab some tea or whatever else you want to drink, and let's dig in and get started. The first thing you need to do is decide how you want to keep track of your budget. Do you want to have a pen and paper, or do you want to do it on the computer? If you want to do it on the computer, we love using Microsoft Excel to keep track of our budget because it does the math for you. It is really slick, especially if you already know how to use the program. I highly recommend just creating a workbook and using that for your budget. If you want me to do a video sometime on exactly how to set up a budget in Excel, comment down below and I would be happy to do one of those for you as well. It is a wonderful tool and we use it all the time, but it can take a little getting used to if you aren't familiar with it. If you don't have Excel and you want to do pen and paper, you can grab my Ultimate Budgeting Workbook, and that has everything you need to get started. I will leave a link down below and you can grab that and print it off quickly if you want to follow along there. Or you can just grab a pen and paper. It really doesn't have to be too complicated. You just need some way to keep track of how much money is going into each category. The second thing you need to do is determine your reliable monthly net income. Now, why do I say reliable? Because if you have an odd job here and there that sometimes pays you and sometimes doesn't, I would not count that money when creating your budget, because some months would be a lot tighter than others, and it's better to just base your income off of what you know is coming in than to base it off money that may come in and it may not. So add up any jobs that you have that pay you on a consistent basis and any that your spouse or significant other has that pays them on a consistent basis as well. You also want to be sure that you are looking at your net income and not your gross income. Your gross income is what your employer tells you that you make in a year, and your net income is what you actually make after all the taxes are taken out of your income. If you base your budget off your gross income, you will be sorely disappointed every month because you just won't have as much money as you think that you do. So make sure you are looking at your net income or your take-home pay or that number that is actually on your check. The third thing we are going to do is write down every single monthly expense that you have. And if you can't think of them all, or you think you might be missing something, go ahead and look at your bank account statements or your credit card statements and write down every single expense that you have to pay for in a month. One question that a lot of people have is how much to budget for food. And there are a lot of variables that go into determining your monthly food budget based on where you live. Some places just cost more to eat there, and based on the type of food that you eat, if you are gluten-free or have other dietary restrictions, it can cost a lot more to eat that way. We typically budget $100 per person per month for food. Now, there are times throughout the year where it ends up being a little bit more. For instance, around the holidays, we end up spending a little bit more at the grocery store because we make bigger meals and fancier meals. So it will end up being about $125 per person per month those months, but I suggest somewhere between that $100 to $125 per month per person. If you're spending way more than this on food in your family, you don't have to cut all the way back to that amount right away if that doesn't seem reasonable to you. You could always try decreasing your food budget by $100 a month until you reach that $100 to $125 per person per month, or you reach a different sweet spot for your family. Like I said, if you eat all organic or have special diet needs or anything like that, or if you live in an expensive part of the country for food, I know Hawaii, for instance, it's really expensive to get food there. If any of those things are relevant for your family, then you may have to come up with a different number. But no matter what your situation is, you want to have a food budget that will make you cost conscious at the grocery store. Your food budget should help you say no to impulse items and make you want to meal plan to save more money at the grocery store. The fourth thing we're going to do is we're going to take that list of expenses and we are going to divide it up between necessary and unnecessary expenses. And if you are using that workbook that I linked down below, there's already a page for you in there on dividing your necessary and unnecessary expenses. All you need to do is fill it out. So necessary expenses are anything that you need for life to go on as normal for your family. Mortgage and rent would go in this category, groceries, utilities, anything that you need for transportation, for getting to work. So car payments or gas or public transportation needs would all fit in this category as well. Also insurance, if you need insurance on your car or homeowner's insurance or renter's insurance, anything that you need for your life to go on as normal would fit in the necessary expense category. Unnecessary expenses are different things that we would be able to cut if we are spending too much money every month. So examples of things that would go in unnecessary expenses would be miscellaneous shopping that you do just for fun or just to kill time or when you don't have a specific goal or need in mind for that shopping. Entertainment would fall under unnecessary expenses. Different subscriptions like to Amazon or Hulu, and going out to eat would also be an unnecessary expense. Obviously, there are other things that would fit in these categories as well. So divvy up all of the expenses that you wrote down in step 3 into these 2 categories, and we will come back to those later. Number 5, now we are going to look at savings and or debt payment. This part can be a little bit confusing, so I will put some links in the description down below if you would like more details on this section. I have a budgeting percentage article that I will link to, and also a 7 bank accounts that every family should have that I will link to as well. Both of those will be down below and give you some more details about exactly how to handle this step. But the next step is for 20% of your income to be going towards savings and or debt payment. The first thing that you want to do if you don't have any savings account is to build up an emergency savings account. And again, more details in the link down below about the emergency savings account and how you want to build that up. But once that emergency savings account is built up, you can shift the 20% from savings temporarily towards paying off any debt that you have. And you want to use this for additional debt payments. Those minimum monthly payments still need to be coming out of your expenses, but this additional 20% can help you pay off your debt much more quickly. And once that debt is paid off, you want to go back to putting this 20% towards savings. And again, check out that link down below to the 7 bank accounts every family should have. And that will go into much more detail about exactly how to start saving the money and the important bank accounts that you should have for your family. The 6th thing that you want to do is determine your giving. Now, if giving doesn't align with your personal values, that's no big deal. You can skip this step. But if you've never given before, I highly recommend you take at least some of your money and give towards a charity of your choice. We donate 10% of our money to our church, but if you don't go to a church or you aren't religious at all, you could donate the money to any cause or charity that you want to. Or if you don't have any favorite causes or charities, maybe open a college savings account for a niece or nephew or another child in your neighborhood. Like I said, you don't have to do this step, but if you've never done it before, I suggest you give it a try and just see if you like it. The 7th thing that you need to do now is to sync your budget with your calendar. So look at your calendar, look at when you get your paychecks, and decide which expenses should go out at which points in the month, and when should your savings be drafted from your accounts as well. For instance, for us, when our mortgage comes out of our account, we don't want to have a lot of other big expenses coming out of the account at the same time of the month because that's our biggest expense. So we divide up our expenses, and some come out on the 1st of the month and some come out on the 15th. And that way the money stays roughly the same throughout the month and isn't a shock to our system, and we have no extra spending money at the beginning of the month, for instance. So look at your calendar and look at which bills should be paid at which time. The other thing you want to look at here is when your savings should be drafted from your account. Again, you may not want to take that savings money out of the account at the same time that the mortgage is, because that's generally a larger expense. But you want to make sure that you are taking that savings money out of the account as soon as you can and are able to. Because if you don't pay yourself first, you're not going to pay yourself. There's not just going to be money sitting around at the end of the month waiting to be saved. It just doesn't work like that. So make sure you pay yourself as soon as you can and before you do anything else with the money. All right, now your budget is set up, and the 8th thing that you need to do is track your spending. If you're using that budgeting workbook, all you have to do is go to the spending tracker page and write down every single thing that you spend money on this month. The 9th thing that you're going to do is, after a month goes by of tracking, you are going to evaluate and see if you hit your goals for the month or if you need to make some adjustments. If you hit all your goals, great, good job, you are on your way to some budgeting success. But if you didn't, don't panic. Go back to that list that we made with the necessary and unnecessary expenses and take a look at those unnecessary expenses. Are there some things that you could cut out? Are there some things that you could minimize? Don't be afraid to cut some things out of your budget until your finances get back under control. Just because you cut something out once doesn't mean you can never have it again, but it will be far better in the long run to cut some things out of your budget and have to add it back in later than to limp along with your budget and not be able to realize your full financial goals. Number 10, track again. If you had to make any adjustments, track again for another month. At the end of the month, again, evaluate and see if your spending matches your budget. Keep repeating steps 9 and 10 until your spending and saving matches your budget goals. I would love to hear why you decided to start a budget. Let me know in the comments down below if you are planning a trip or planning to pay off debt. Whatever it is, I would just love to hear what your goals are. Again, I'm Kassy with makingtimeforgiggles.com, and if you'd like to see more videos about making mom life simple, don't forget to hit subscribe down below and hit the bell next to it to be notified when the next one comes out. I'll see you on the next one.